Will the anti-spending message from the midterm elections prevail? For that, we welcome Senator Roger Wicker, Republican of Mississippi. Welcome, Senator. Well, what do you think? Does this thing pass, or will it be held up?
Well, I'm certainly going to vote against it, and I hope that the American people will continue to be heard on this. My phone's been ringing off the wall. You know, we've had a year to do regular order and to pass the 12 appropriation bills that are required of Congress each year. Now, here we are in a lame duck session with many of the people trying to push this through in the last few moments, having been voted out of office. And I just don't think the American people are going to stand for this. They may have the votes, but I think it'll be a grave mistake. And certainly I will be working and speaking on the floor right up to and including Christmas Eve to try to keep this from passing.
You know, Senator, we're looking right now at some of the earmarks, some of the outrageous earmarks that are in this, including a maple syrup earmark, et cetera. But some of your Republicans are fond of earmarks, too, and they even put it in the tax bill. We had an awful ethanol provision that was put in the tax bill. Ethanol has been disproven as an effective means of combating foreign oil many times, and yet it's in the tax bill. Are you advising your Republican colleagues to keep the pork out as well?
Well, yes, and if we were for all of those individual projects, the thing to do would be to take them up one by one.
Well, what have you told Charles Grassley, who's pushing for ethanol? What have you told Charles Grassley?
Well, that bill has already gone from the Senate. I voted in favor of it because we got so much of what we wanted. But no, to answer your question, I have not had a conversation with Charles Grassley about ethanol. It's a bone of contention in the Republican conference, I can tell you.
A lot of people are asking, did you hear the voters back during the midterm elections? A lot of people were saying, just stop the spending, yet when you marry that with extending tax cuts, that becomes a much more complicated issue, does it not? And how do you square with the two?
Well, now, this omnibus spending bill is not married to the tax cuts.
But psychologically, you know what I'm saying, psychologically, there has to be some spending in this nation, but when you look at things like money for fishermen in Guam, it really gets people confused, yet they also want to see tax cuts.
I think it's important for us not to confuse, though, the tax extender bill, which keeps us from having the largest tax increase in the history of the United States of America, which the Senate passed today to prevent those automatic tax hikes. That is a separate and distinct bill from the omnibus bill. The Senate is now on the omnibus bill, and I think we'll be making those very points that we heard from the voters. And frankly, this type of bill would never be passed next year under the new leadership that the United States of America has voted in. And so it's outrageous for them to try to do this in the waning days of the lame duck session while the defeated group is on its way out the door.
Well, what happens to government spending if, in fact, it's not passed before the first of the year?
Well, I think we should pass a short-term continuing resolution, keep the lights on, and then allow the newly elected representatives in the House and Senate to discuss this issue and vote on it and actually work the will of the electorate after the first of the year. That is my idea, and I hope we can get the votes for a short-term continuing resolution and avoid this large, expensive omnibus bill with $1 billion to help implement Obamacare, things like that have not been debated, that have not been part of hearings. We need to vote that down, do a short-term fix to keep the lights on, and let this new group take the oath of office.
Senator, finally, on the tax bill, so going back to the tax bill, if the House changes it to include an expanded estate tax, will the Senate go along?
I certainly hope not. That's one of the very important parts of this. Of course, I think the estate tax should be repealed in its entirety. If we go to the 35%, I think it should be done permanently. So, you know, I had to give up a little to vote on this, too. But a 2-year estate tax at 35% with an exemption that is in the current bill is something I can live with. I do not think an amendment is going to be well received on the Senate side and would probably result in the tax hike automatically going into effect first of the year. We do not need that. Our economy doesn't need this.
Senator Roger Wicker, Republican of Mississippi, we thank you for coming on Bulls and Bears.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to be with you.
Coming up, a Fox Business exclusive with the co-chair of the bipartisan